Retro Unboxing.
Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jonathan, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to have a look at this. It's a Sega Dreamcast. It was released in 1998 in Japan. We weren't lucky enough to have it until something like late 1999 in Europe, and I think it came out a little bit earlier in the US. I managed to have one myself in kind of the early 2000s, and it's actually one of the only consoles that I really had many kind of pirated games for. You had to you had a CD with a little bootloader, you put that in, and then that did its little thing, and then you could put pirated CDs in. I'm not proud of that now, but you know, that's just kind of the truth. So I managed to actually pick this up a couple of years ago, and in all honesty, I've never touched it. I bought it, quickly kind of inspected the contents. I bought it fairly locally, probably about 30 miles from where I live, and I got it home, quickly inspected the contents, and then put it away. And then very quickly I bought one of these kind of acetate box protectors and put it in there and put it on my shelf. And I genuinely, I haven't touched it. I've never turned it on. So in this video, I'm not going to be turning it on. I'm not going to be playing on it. I'm just going to unbox it. I'm going to show you everything that came with basically a brand new Sega Dreamcast, and I will show you some of the accessories and some of the games and some of the things that you can still pick up now. This console was ahead of its time in many aspects. It was the first 128-bit console. It was the first kind of online console. It's got a built-in modem. I think later on it had a broadband adapter. You could use a mouse and keyboard, so if you were playing things like Quake, which was quite a big game back in the day, and Phantasy Star Online, you could play those with mouse and keyboard. Not something I kind of got into. I'm very much more of a kind of controller, kind of arcadey type game person myself, but you know, it was there. Right, that's enough waffle. I'm going to get on with the unboxing. So like I say, the first thing I did was get the acetate box. It's one of those consoles that if you keep an eye out for long enough, on eBay, you will find one come up, but they aren't cheap. I've put that upside down, haven't I? So you'll see from the box that it's in, unfortunately, mildly squished condition here and there. It's very difficult to find these consoles where they are, okay, you know, brand new and perfect. This is as close as I've managed to find in my quest, you know, over the years. I could possibly find a slightly better box and kind of transplant the contents into another box. I may do that at some point, but in the meantime, I'm actually very happy with it being on my shelf. Which there is definitely a side to go from and a side not to go from, and I'm thinking that is definitely the top. You'll notice on the top camera there is a space just here in the top of the box. If I'm honest, I don't know what it's for. I mean, to be honest, what I do when I open consoles myself is make a mental note of where everything's supposed to go. So when you put everything back, everything goes where it was originally. But not everybody does that. So it could have just been a cable. It could have been a little manual or a bit of software. Who knows? But yeah, there's a space there. And then underneath we have a lot of documentation and CDs and game like demo discs and such like. So we have the Dream Key, and I believe that came with a CD, and that was to help you get the console online and kind of do things that we'd not really been able to do before. This is a kind of demo disc with a few games and demos on. The Dream Arena, this is a little leaflet about basically a world of expression within a new reality, exclusive to owners of Dreamcast. Be the first to access the internet and email through your TV. Interesting. What I did very quickly notice was on the back, it says something about being up to 6 billion players, which is unlikely because I think they only sold something like 6 million consoles. And then a little instruction booklet on that. And then back in the day when we couldn't just go on the internet and kind of find problems, find solutions to problems, we had to ring people by telephone. Let's show you this nice and close up. This was a lovely controller for my money. It sat very nicely in the hand. The buttons are extremely solid. We've got trigger buttons here. The analog stick is a little, it's quite snappy, but it was nice. The D-pad was excellent. Put a rumble pack in the bottom slot, and you could put the VMU in the top slot. We'll come back to that. We've got the 3-pin plug. If you're buying a used Dreamcast now, the boxes are generally actually knackered. So we've got the TV connector. And then if we get the console out, the main manual, another console. These things just came with so much. That's a warranty card. I suspect that's run out. Additional regulatory statements for the European Union. Yeah, so if you're buying one of these now, they're very difficult to get hold of in really excellent mint new type condition, because the cardboard packaging on the inside, everything just goes knackered and floppy, because this thing's like eggshell. And it was the same with the Atari Jaguar. That came in a kind of eggshell cardboard packaging, and they knacker up really easily. I mean, it may keep a dozen eggs safe, but yeah. And then the console. This is what we are here for. I find these things beautiful. Considering the consoles that came before the Dreamcast, the Nintendo 64 had come out, and that was supposed to be the next gen, the 64-bit, and it was well, if you've seen my unboxing of the Nintendo 64, you'll know how much I disliked it. But the difference in quality of graphics and gameplay and things like that from the Nintendo 64 to the Dreamcast was massive. So on the back we've got the power plug. We've got AV, which is that one, and then a serial port for other stuff. And then over here we've got the network port. And I'm sure I do seem to remember having it online. I can't remember what I did with it. I may have pissed around with Phantasy Star Online, but I really don't fully remember. There's really not a mark on it. I'll show you. So on the front we've got 4 controller ports. Was that the first? Can't remember. GameCube had 4, but that came after this. We had a flip-top lid. That's my only thing. I've always had a preference to consoles that have got either a disc slot or a slidey out tray like the 3DO. But yeah, this is the toilet lid. The Jaguar did have a toilet lid kind of situation, didn't it? There's not even a fingerprint. I love this console. The modem port, that was quite stiff. The modem port came with basically an interchangeable kind of situation, because I think, as I say, you could upgrade this to a broadband modem. Whether that ever worked in the UK or not, I don't know, but you could, as I say, interchange that. I'm going to slot it in more carefully. Now, the other thing that I've noticed on the bottom here is there are 4 little kind of what look like connectors. So I don't know if you remember with the Mega Drive and the Mega Drive 2, it had these so that you could slot it onto the Mega CD, and that's what they look like, kind of, so you could drop it onto something and lock it into place. But I never ever saw those used for anything, because I suppose what you've been able to do is, if you were sliding it onto an extra piece of hardware, is connect it through this port here and then slide it on and lock it into place with these little things. Does anybody know anything about possible Dreamcast expansion? I'm extremely curious to know. But I mean, the only other thing that I can show you is that it came with a massive long telephone cable to plug it into the wall, and an adapter. There's the 3-pin power plug, and then the TV connector. So you could plug it into the back of your TV and then switch between whether you were playing on the console or wanted to watch the TV, because this uses the aerial, the TV aerial, the RF aerial. To be fair, the Mega Drive did this, the Super Nintendo did this. It was very sensible. But if you wanted to get the best out of the console, because it did output, I think, up to sort of 576i, you got a very nice signal out of it. You could use SCART. So over the years I've picked up quite a few accessories, and to be honest, if you go on eBay, you can get quite a lot of accessories that are probably quite new. So you can generally pick up controllers, brand new and boxed, and actually reasonably cheap, maybe 20–30 pounds. The SCART cable was very useful, because a lot of TVs did have a SCART socket on the back. So that was one of the best ways to get better than aerial, better than this cable quality, quite cheaply. As you can see, this was £4.97 back in the day. So that had been a nice, cheap, easy way to get decent quality video. I believe there was an official VGA cable, but I don't have one, and I think they're quite expensive to pick up now. But you can get things like that, which is just a kind of converter. And that is the kind of proper, official, best way of getting the best quality out of the Dreamcast and into VGA monitors and that kind of thing. But I believe you had to dick around with audio, because I don't think VGA carries audio. But you can also get things like this, and these are, again, they're pretty cheap and easy to kind of pick up from Amazon. And this basically just plugs straight into a HDMI, so you can play it on a modern TV. It doesn't do any upscaling, but it still looks, it's still a very nice, crisp way of getting the TV output onto a modern TV. These things are quite easy to pick up again, and these are, very much necessary. They didn't come with the console, but very, very, very necessary. That is the VMU. So you plug that into the top port of your controller, and this was a memory card, and it had a little battery in that you could change if it went. And then that's the rumble pack, and that one is brand new and sealed and has never been used. So again, these are just they're dead easy to pick up, you know, usually 15, 20 pounds on eBay. There was also a keyboard and mouse. I've never had the mouse, but I've had the keyboard, and again, these are very easy to pick up, cheap. You can get them brand new boxed with the still with the packaging, but this one's, yeah, very good condition. And then on to some of the games. Again, some of the rarer games you can pay quite a lot of money for, but most of the mainstream stuff you can pick up kind of reasonably cheaply on eBay. That's one of the earlier releases. Mind you, they're all fairly early releases, because the console actually only had a 2-year lifespan. Released in '99, and then they stopped making it in 2001. The biggest difficulty with Dreamcast game collection is that the cases were extremely flimsy, and these hinges broke very easily. So sometimes it is quite difficult to find basically getting these games in good condition with boxes. So sometimes it's actually worth buying just a cheap game in a mint box and then switching the CD and the inlays over. Like I say, some of these games maybe 30 or 40 pounds. This is one of the best games ever. But yeah, I'd kind of like, I wanted so much more for this console, and to be honest, every game on it, they're either massive kind of arcade hits, like all the Virtua Fighter, the Sega Rally, things like that. And there was a lot of really good third-party games and software that the Dreamcast, I don't know, it just holds such a fond place in my heart and in my collection. I know this all sounds very sad, doesn't it? But yeah, it's just such a nice thing. So that's kind of it for the unboxing, really. What I'd like you to do, if you do want to see more of this type of content, is let me know. I at some point will do a follow-up with a bit of gameplay and setting it up and trying it on different TVs and things like that, and seeing what we can get out of the kind of picture without modification. There's a lot of modification out there, but I don't want to do that. You know, I want to keep this original. I do have a really nice 19-inch VGA monitor. So I think that's probably going to be the best way to play this console, because it's the 4:3 aspect ratio rather than widescreen. So I think that's going to be the best way to play this console, personally. It probably looks good on a really old CRT TV as well, via SCART. That will probably look pretty good. If you've got one with RGB SCART, that could look really good. But yeah, so yeah, let me know what you think. I'd like to follow up. If you want to see other follow-ups, give us a like, give us a subscribe, etc. And I'm going to get this set up at some point and do a bit of a follow-up video in the next few weeks. So if you've enjoyed the video, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Retro Unboxing.